Good evening, everyone. This is Trell, or good morning, or good afternoon. This is Trell of Jillian Trell, and we are excited on tonight to be talking to you about website development. I know a lot of you have been anticipating this module. Some of you came in the door saying, hey, I need a website, or I'm working on my website. What do I need? What should I do? How should I launch it, and so many other questions that we've been getting um, so often from all of the kingdom builders out there. And you'll be happy to know this is the module we are going over today. So this is module 10, going over website development, and we do have Jill on the line as well.
Hey, Kingdom Builders. Congratulations. You made it to Module 10, and we are so excited.
Yes. Two more to go. You can do it. You can do it. So stick and stay. Thank you all for sticking and staying for this long. And you have only two more to go, and you have a home run. So we're going to cover 4 areas as it relates to website development on tonight. And the 4 areas that we are going to cover, and before I do that, make sure you have something to write with, and make sure you have something to write on. We do want you to take notes, nuggets, anything that resonates with you, regardless of where you may be in you developing your website or getting your website developed. We still want you to be able to take notes so you can apply it to it at this point wherever you may be. So go ahead and do that. Take some time to do that so we can go ahead and get started. So the 4 areas we're going to talk about tonight is basic branding needs, hiring someone or doing it yourself, aka DIY, layout development, or layout template I should say, and website content. So those are the 4 areas that we're going to cover as it relates to your web development, okay? So we're going to go right into Module 1 or Module 4, the first module. And when you're talking about your basic branding needs, you definitely want to make sure that you have a marketing strategy that's creative, that's different, that speaks volumes as to what your business is, what you represent, and what you're trying to get out to your audience. You want to make sure that even when you're talking about your logo, you want to make sure that it's symbolic to your mission, it's symbolic to your purpose. For instance, many of you have heard us talk about our logo as it relates to Detour Movement Incorporated. And for many of you that do not know, that is a world or globe. The O that's in movement is a globe. And the little spike things that are separating the globe is basically accordion, like an accordion type thing that would be like on a keyboard, or if you were familiar with an accordion file or whatever the case may be, it's like looks like little spikes. That means that it's separating the world from us, or separating us from the world, I guess I should say. So that represents us detouring from the things of this world and moving forward closer to the things of God. The lady that's on the end of our logo is basically saying, hey, I'm naked and unashamed before God. So when you look at our logo, you should have no doubts as to what we represent and what we stand for. Our mission, our purpose is detouring from the things of the world so that we can move closer to the things of God. And our tagline down there says, renew your mind so that you can transform your life. And the reason why we picked the colors that we did, pink is known to be, feminine type color, and we do cater to females for the majority of the time. So that's why we picked the color pink. I mean, I know it may sound cliche, but that's really why we did that. So even in you choosing your colors, choosing your logo, choosing the size of your font and things of that nature, all of those things should be strategic when you're coming up with your brand. When you're saying, okay, I want to up-level my brand, I want my brand to look like XYZ, you want to make sure that these things, all these things are in line with who you are as a person and also what your company or even your ministry represents. I mentioned tagline just a little bit there. You want to make sure that you do have a tagline, again, that represents your organization. For us, it's Renew Your Mind so that you can transform your life. But we do have other type taglines that we use, abstaining for Jesus, kingdom builders, kingdom citizens, and things of that nature. Or more so, I guess I should say those are hashtags that we use in addition to the tagline. But those are all things that represent us as an organization, and it also represents us as a person, okay? Branding needs, core values, make sure that you understand, number one, what your core values is as far as an organization is concerned, so that you can represent that in your brand. Even when you're taking pictures, a professional photo shoot, what you're wearing, and things of that nature, all those things should represent who you are and should speak volumes to your core values of your organization. Branding, when it comes to the language that you use in content, the language that you're using on the website, when you start getting into all of the different areas that you're going to have to fill in on that website, you want to make sure that your language is descriptive, and you want to make sure, again, that it's representing you as an individual and representing the company or the business, the ministry, I guess I should say, that you are ownership of. High quality images. We see all too often individuals take selfies or pictures with phones, or pictures that are not quality and not professional, and they want to just, post up there on the website. That's an automatic no-no. You want to make sure that you have at least one professional photo, even if that's the only professional photo that you have on your website. You can always go to things like Dollar Photo and different websites if you have an account with them to utilize photos from that website. But, with us, we like to use real-life photos, so photos from our events, photos from photo shoots and things that we take in order to put on our website. I think it gives it a more personable touch, and it also just connects you with the audience a little bit more when you have real-life people that they can connect with. Hashtags, I kind of went over this earlier. You want to have different hashtags. Right here we say about 8 to 10, but just depending. You can probably have 5 or 6 hashtags. But again, anything that you're associating with your organization, with your ministry, you want to make sure that it is speaking to your overall mission and purpose, and also the core values of your organization. What does your organization stand for? When people see your logo, what do they see? When they see your name, what do they see? When they see you, what do you see? Because even in your brand, when you're talking about basic branding needs, you are your brand. You represent your brand. So you want to ensure that in everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, it represents your brand to the fullest and highest quality.
Absolutely. And I just want to say one thing, because you see here we're going back over the basic branding because it's essential. And this is why we strategically place web development at number 10. A lot of people, the first thing they do when they start a business is they want to run and, go get a website. But the reason why we don't do that and we don't encourage that is because you need to do all this other stuff. You need to go through the basic branding, things. You need to get pictures. You need to host events. You need to have all these things to have a strong presence or have a strong website. And one thing we know to be true, you don't have to have a website in order to have a strong web presence. So that's a distinction too, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, especially at the end if you decide, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do a website, what else can I do? We'll talk about that a little later.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, Joe, thanks for touching on that, because, when you have a website, you want to make sure you have something to offer. And you want to make sure you have an audience that is actually going to, or traffic that's going, that's visiting your website and things of that nature. So if you don't have a list of people that, know that your website exists, or even a list of people that is on your email list, and you have nothing on the website, then what's the reason for the website at all? So that's, again, why we did do this at the very end, or toward the end, I guess I should say. If you time over to the next slide, or slide over to the next slide, I guess I should say, you see that we have different variations of our logo. So the logo that we use the most, I think, would be the one that has a silhouette, but we do have different variations. So when you're talking about your brand, you want it to be so unique and so universal, and also diversified, to where you can use it in different forms, just depending on what you're using it for. If you're using it for a business card, you may want to use a different variation of that brand. It still speaks to your core values. It still speaks to what your organization or ministry represents, so it does not take away from that, but it's just maybe a different variation of that. So it's good to have different variations of the brand, different variations of the font and things of that nature, just depending on what you're using it for. You may use it for a postcard, a 3x5 type postcard flyer to hand out. You may use it for your business cards. You may use it for your 8x12 type flyer to hand out in the city or community, or whatever, or on a newsletter, be it electronic or hard copy. So just depending on what you're using the image for, the logo for, you want to ensure that you do have different images, and you can be universal as to how you're using those images. And that takes us on to hiring someone versus doing it yourself.
And so before you jump there, let me say this on the branding. If you hire somebody to help you with branding, at a minimum, you want them to make sure that they're giving you that. They're telling you, they're giving you a logo, they're giving you your colors, they're giving you distinctive fonts that you should try to use every time you're putting something up. You want those. That's kind of like the basic branding package that you would want to be getting as a deliverable when they're helping you with that as you begin to develop your website. And some web designers will help you with that. But it's usually a separate cost to do that branding work outside the website cost. Shirley, you still with me here?
Yeah, and I don't know if
Okay.
they would give you the colors. You may have to come up with the colors yourself, and they can help you get the color codes, the hex numbers, and things of that nature. I don't know if they
Right.
would actually give you the colors. I mean, some I guess would, but it's good to know. You say, okay, I like purple and gold for whatever reason. Every
Right.
color that you pick, it means something. It's some representation behind that color, so you want to find out what that is. And that person could be that person that helps you, or a publicist or somebody that you're working with, or, Jill and I can be that person to help you figure out what your core colors are going to be. Because we've seen on different logos and things where the colors may be, one color on the flyer, and it may be a totally different color on the website or Facebook or whatever the case may be, because colors have codes to them. So every blue is not the same color blue. You have different shades, you have different numbers that are associated with a certain type of blue. Every black may be a different variation. So you want to make sure that you have your certain numbers that are associated with those colors to ensure you're using it using the same color the same time. And that's again with the font and sizes as well. And whatever works for you. So, if the person does give you different variations of fonts, then, you can pick one of those, or you can say, okay, this is the type of font I want, and you can definitely present that to your person that you're working with. But if you're doing it yourself, then that's a whole different story. But you can present it to the person that you're working with, and they can assure that you have any type of number, anything associated with that font, or the font that's universal, because sometimes depending on the software that you're using, a certain font may not be available in in a different type of software. So that's something else to keep in mind as well.
Absolutely. All right, so hiring someone versus doing it yourself. Okay, so hiring someone, advantages versus disadvantages. So advantages, if you hire somebody to do it for you, it saves you time and energy in learning a new platform, right? Which is big, because one of the greatest struggles, if I can say that, one of the greatest challenges, especially you working full-time, even if you're doing business full-time, time and energy, you have a limit of how much that you have. And I can tell you from my own experience, when I first started to try to do a website on my own, because I've probably done 3 on my own, and we've hired someone to do 2 or 3 for us, and it's an intense process. It's an intense process. I'll tell you about the easiest way that we did one. And if you really want to do one and you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money, that's what we're going to recommend a little later. But anyway, another advantage of hiring someone is that the website finish should have a more professional look and feel, which increases credibility. And I use the word should because I know one time when we hired our first person to do it, we didn't really have as much clarity around our content nor around our branding, and she was offering only a template. She wasn't doing customization, and we really didn't understand the difference. So we're going to hopefully educate you here, so when you go hire somebody, you'll know more what you're getting. So another advantage is a designer may be able to provide some branding support, which is really important, because if you don't have a strong brand and strong images, your website from an aesthetic standpoint will not look good. Don't mean it won't be effective, but it won't be aesthetically pleasing, which will kind of tarnish your credibility. The next thing is looking at the disadvantages. Disadvantages of doing it yourself or not hiring someone. Either way, you're going to have to provide the content. You're going to have to know what you want to say, what's the words and pictures that you want to be included in your website, right? So that's a disadvantage. You can't get around that. Professional websites, you start at $750 to $1,500 on the low end. Usually the 750 websites, they just want to do a drag and drop. They just want to take a template and remove the images from that template and put your images on there. When you start talking about customization, it starts usually about $1,500, which is saying they're going to deviate from the template in terms of color and placement. of things on your site. The next thing, usually you have limited capability to update your content. So if you're having events, if you have videos you're posting to YouTube and things like that, or you're doing videos on Periscope and you want to repurpose on your website, when you have somebody else do your website for you, if you're not familiar with that server, which most times you won't be, then it's like, oh my God, let's say offer some type of ongoing service. And if they do, I recommend that you take advantage. If it's affordable, they can help you make small updates, changes, and corrections so your website won't be outdated. The next thing is, it usually take at least 4 to 6 weeks, more like 2 to 3 months to go through the website process. Because it takes you a while to get the content together. You get that over to them. I haven't seen any designer do anything shorter than 2 weeks, and that's pushing it. They tell our experience. Sometimes they be like, oh, I can get this to you in 5 days. But by the time they really dig deep in it, it usually takes them 2 to 4 weeks to get you a first draft of your website. You go in, give your feedback suggestions, which takes hours. And then, so you need to make sure you plan like a season or a quarter where you're going to say this quarter, I'm going to do my website. Now, once you already have it up one time, it may be less involved. And if you use some of the more simplistic templates, like some of the ones you're going to mention, then it may be a little easier. But I'm talking about the WordPress type, which is one of the most popular types, and we'll get into that later. That's a platform I'm kind of thinking about that is very involved. Some designers expect you to tell them every detail. So not only want you to provide the content, they want to tell you what font, they want you to tell them what font, what color, where's the size placement, where do you want this opt-in box. Like, you have to tell them everything. So you have to be prepared to do that. Now, talking about doing it yourself. Now, what's the advantages and disadvantages of doing it yourself? The advantages, obviously, is you save money if you have the time and patience to learn how to do it yourself. There's various templates out there that you can do as a drag and drop, and it makes it so much easier, and the look and feel can be aesthetically pleasing. The next thing is you can make a change to your website with few clicks and not spending a dime, okay? Which is right now, the website that we use most often, we have several websites up, which we're integrating a lot of that. At one time, we wanted a separate website for the conference, so we have the Establish.im website up, which somebody did for us. And then we have digitalmovement.org, which is one we did ourselves, and it's my favorite website. We had somebody do a couple of different websites for us, but the digitalmovement.org is my favorite. Not that it's so lavish or beautiful, but it's very organized, and the content is great, and then I think it is aesthetically pleasing. So you can make a do-it-yourself one work for you. The disadvantages, depending on the platform, it can be very time-consuming for most types of do-it-yourself. Websites have a homemade feel, which can diminish your credibility and could impact your bottom line, okay? Sometimes when you do it yourself, people can tell that you did it yourself, and so they're like, oh my God, this is a homemade website. I'm sure you've seen them, like, why they got that big purple or whatever color, it's like it's just not balanced. The next thing, another disadvantage of doing it yourself, you have to hire someone to help you with your brand or just do it yourself, which we don't recommend you do your own branding. You can kind of do some of your own things, but you should have somebody professional do your logo and all of that and make sure everything's lining up. The next thing is you have to make all the decisions about the layout, the font size, the color placement, and all of that. And the next thing is you still have to develop all the content. So those, again, are some of the challenges. So if you decide to hire somebody, we just wanted to give you a couple of questions that you should ask in that hiring process. You want to ask them for sample work. Let me see what you have done for other people. Point me to some of your websites that you've done. Ask for referrals of satisfied customers, because sometimes people can have a really nice website, but it took 6 months to get it that way, and you need to be prepared to know. And I know that's one of my greatest challenges working with web designers is that they really, and I'm not saying this for everybody, the ones that I work with, they had done a poor job of setting expectation of how long things would take. So they'll say 5 days, and it's 4 weeks later, I'm like, where is the website? Or, you know what I'm saying? So I think when you talk to referrals, they can help you weed out some of that. Also, you want to ask them time frames. How long is it going to take you? Okay, have you ever done this time frame in the past? How long do you typically take? Number of revisions. How many revisions do I get? Is it when you deliver to me? Is that it? Do I have to pay for every iteration of revisions, or how many iterations do I get? Level of service. Are you just going to take a basic template and drag and drop my pictures in there, not changing any of the colors of the titles, or manipulating those to make it fit and make it more aesthetically pleasing for my brand? Or are they going to do customization where they will make those type of changes to fit? Also, you want to make sure you're very clear on the fee for service, the cost of revisions, if any, and the payment structure. Some people will want you to pay full upfront. It's just kind of difficult because if you pay upfront and they take a while to deliver, you just want to have to be patient. I would recommend trying to negotiate like a half and half. Okay, you're going to charge me $1,000. I'll go ahead and pay you $500 in good faith, and then upon my satisfaction of what you offer, I'll pay you the other $500. So you want to be clear on that. I would say write a contract outlining the deliverable times, like when they're going to deliver it to you. And I keep harping on this because, again, sometimes people they don't necessarily do a good job with timing. And if you're trying to release a product or host an event, that can really impact you. You're planning an event and you're planning your website to launch a certain date, and it's like 2 months behind or 3 months behind. It really could impact your planning. So I would say do it in a season where you're not so tight for time, because right now, there is an influx of a lot of people going into business, and designers are busy. Actually, I reached out to this web designer about a week ago, not even a week ago, but about a week ago, and I asked him if he could take on helping us with a project, and he said he has a 3-month wait right now. A 3-month waiting. So before he even can start my website, it will be 3 months from today. So I'm like, okay, so maybe if we don't do it now, we maybe can do this for next year, because he's tapped out pretty much right now. So that takes us to a website platform for doing it yourself. Okay, so I talked about WordPress, which usually I would think most people would argue that WordPress has the nicest websites in terms of aesthetics. They look really nice, very professional, and that's what most professionals are using. And then you also have Squarespace. Squarespace is really is really easy to use. I haven't used it myself, honestly, but I know of people who use it, and some professionals have used it, and it's much more user-friendly. It's like a drag and drop. Actually, these next 3 are more user-friendly. The Squarespace, also Weebly is very user-friendly, and Wix is very user-friendly. Wix is used for, photographers, fashion designers, makeup artists. They have a lot of imagery within their template. I've seen people do really nice websites with Wix. I believe even Live on Purpose website is done with Wix, so you can check that out. I believe it's liveonpurpose.com. That was done with Wix. My husband's website was done with Wix, and it's kelbypix.com. Well, again, I say because he has so many high-level, high-quality images, it's a little easier for him to have a stronger presence and really make a Wix website come out. We actually, our current website for detourmovement.org, as it stands now, it may be changed depending on when you listen to this video, but right now in 2016, our current detourmovement.org is Weebly. It's a Weebly website. We've been using that for about 6 to 9 months. We've been using Weebly for about 6 to 9 months. What I love about Weebly is that it's very easy. It's so easy to use. You literally, if you have your content, you literally can have a website up in 15 to 20 minutes with Weebly. It's very, very user-friendly. Now, quite frankly, Weebly is not something that we want to stay at, because I feel like I always judge in our websites like, oh, where is it? Where is it? I want to always be a 10, right? So right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably give it more like a 7. So we are looking to upgrade, up-level our brand, up-level our website. So we're likely going to go with a WordPress platform, and we're likely going to hire a professional web designer to do it for us. But we all have already done all this work. We've already have all the professional images now. We have all the branding in place and all these things that we didn't have necessarily even just 2 years ago when we were trying to hire somebody, and when we did hire somebody, one of the ladies we hired, we just said, actually, we don't even want the website. We paid you in full. We thank you. Have a nice life. We're not even using that website. So sometimes that happens, and that's why sometimes people like to do it yourself just to get started. And perhaps this is your first time and you got a low budget, that may be the place for you if you have the time to do it. If not, if you say, well, I have $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and I want to invest in it, maybe go for it, but definitely go through the questions that we recommend. So, Sherelle, I'm going to turn it over to you and talk about website layout and hosting.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you all are taking notes, and there's a lot of information that's being dispelled. And again, depending on where you are, maybe you have a website, maybe you've started it, you're on your own, you have considered hiring someone, or someone may be working on it. These are all things they need to take in consideration even now when you're talking about costs and different things that they can do versus what you can do. And depending on how they set that website up for you, you want to make sure that it's user-friendly for you as well. Jill talked about how the one we have, .org, is like our most favorite one because it's so user-friendly and easy to maneuver through. So just depending on where you are and what you're looking for, you want to make sure you have these things to apply, okay? So the next, what we're talking about next, hold on, sorry guys.
We're talking about the website.
The layout
hosting.
and the
Yeah.
hosting. This is part 4. This is our last part that we're going to go over tonight. So first, when you're talking about your layout, we want to talk about your domain and your hosting. So you definitely want to decide on your domain. Do you even know what that's going to be? At this point, I would hope you would know it's going to be .org, .com, probably won't be like .edu or anything of that nature, but you definitely should know what your domain and hosting is going to be. Your domain is going to be at this point, so you can provide that to the person that's working on your website, or so that you can use that for your website. Again, we talked about detourmovement.org. So we do have a .org, and we also have a .com, actually, our JillianSherelle.com, but that's more so our blog spot, but it represents and it can be used, really, as a website as well. So we do have 2 different variations right now. Well, 3, I guess, with FabulousIam.com as well is out there. So we have a couple of different ones that we use. So you want to make sure you have that down pat when you're looking to build a website or even have someone do it for you. So a domain can be, just depending, it could be tailormade.org. It could be girlstalkmovement.org or .com, and those are some of our community, some of the kingdom builders that work along with us. So just depending on what it is, if you're just branding your name, you as a person or individual, it may be just CherelleRavenel.com or johnbrown.com or whatever the case may be. But it really just depends on your brand message, your mission and your purpose, of course. And you want to think of it long term, because you don't want to change your website name per se every 5 to 6 years. Yes, you can change the content. You can always up level. You can always update information on it and things of that nature, but you really don't want to have to change the name. That's just like changing the name of your business every 4 to 5 years, because you don't really know what it's going to be. So think long term when you're thinking about these things. Some domain servers that you can utilize in order to get that domain name, because you would have to purchase it through specific people or specific servers, I guess I should say. One would be GoDaddy.com, the other one would be Bluehost. I don't know as far as comparable in cost if one is extremely higher than the other, but you can definitely do some research to find out, okay, which one works for you. I know many of them offer monthly subscriptions, and you can do it annually as well. I know we've opted to do annual subscriptions, and a lot of times when you do that, there is a lower cost when you do it annually vice monthly. And that is something that you will have to continue to invest in so that you can own that domain. Because really, honestly, I know they say sometimes that you own it indefinitely, but just depending on the company that you're using, they may have different fees associated with you owning it indefinitely, that you have to subscribe to or resubscribe or redo your contract or whatever the case may be. So you want to definitely read the fine print and see what works best for you. Okay?
One thing I want to say, Sherelle, that we didn't really explicitly put yet, but being that you're talking about the sign-on domain name, your business name versus your individual name, let's make this distinction, you guys. So be sure that you don't commingle your personal brand with your business brand, or confuse. I shouldn't say commingle. Confuse, right? Because oftentimes you have your individual brand and then you have your business brand. right? Because we have detourmovement.org is a business brand. That's the company. That's the entity. But we also have the Jolene Trail brand, which at one time we had jolentrail.com. Now if you go there, it's close to the blog, which was that first website that lady did for us that we decided to just throw out. But at any rate, keep that in mind that there's two different things. Your individual brand may be, okay, I'm a speaker, I'm an individual speaker, I do individual consulting, but my company, and I'm thinking about Girls Talk, for example, the Girls Talk organization is just not Juanita. It's, it's the conference, it may be programs that she's offering or some type of membership or club or whatever. There's different components that goes with the company brand versus if she wants to say, okay, I'm a speaker, book me, is like her individual brand. So just kind of keep that in mind. You don't want to, sometimes you have to have two separate. And when you try to confuse it, and that's what we did on our very first website, it just became like a ball of confusion, and it's like, what are you offering? What are you doing? Is this a company? Is this individual? I'm so confused what your website's about.
Great point. Absolutely, absolutely. So once you figure that out, and a lot of times it probably would be the company name when you're talking about your actual company or ministry. Because even and to that, look at Bishop T.D. Jakes. He has the Potter's House, and then he has Bishop T.D. Jakes Ministries, I believe. So that's a good comparison as well, so you can understand how the two are the same but different because they're offering something totally different. Okay. Next, we want to talk about the hosting company that you're going to need as for your website as well. And just a few that we've listed here. There are several different hosting companies that are out there, but just a few that are listed here is Bluehost.com, iPage.com, eHost, Host, and HostGator. And when you're looking for hosting companies, you want to definitely make sure that you are comparing to see what works best for you. You're comparing costs. You're comparing the trend. You want to look at reviews of that hosting company. Don't get so caught up in the reviews to whereas it may deviate you from one that may be good. I know Bluehost is a very popular one. They also have eHost as well. So you don't want to get so caught up in that, but you definitely want to pay attention to what other people are saying because they're using this to run their business, run their website on a day-to-day basis. You actually want to look at the features of the hosting company as well, different performance and things of that nature. So just different things that you want to look at when you're choosing a hosting company to be able to host your website to make sure that it is the best for you, that it does work for you. That's something that you can talk to Jill and I about. You may have somebody else in your circle that has an amazing website and they can kind of give you some headers or pointers on that as well. It just depends, but you want to make sure that it works for you. And you also want to look at things like, unlimited disk space as far as on the website and things of that nature. So there are different things you want to see. And again, this is going back to even your budget. When it relates to the website, Joe talked about the $750 starting to $1,500, and some cost even way more than that. So that's just on the low end. I've known websites to cost $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000. So just depending your budget and other things that you have to factor in, you want to make sure that you're looking at all of those options when you're selecting a host for your website. And one thing to really look at too is if you have 24/7 tech support, because if you're going to have someone to do it for you, well, if you're going to do it yourself, you want to definitely make sure you have 24/7 tech support because, we're dealing with technology and things can happen almost all the time. So if something happens on your website, something goes down or whatever the case may be, you need to be able to get on the phone with someone, or your admin or whomever needs to be able to get on the phone with someone in order to fix whatever problem. I know we've had problems with our websites early on, especially the ones that were done individually, and we have had to call tech support in order to walk us through or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure, again, it's user-friendly. We talked about that with our .org website. It's very user-friendly. So you want to make sure, even when you have others that are doing it for you, I've seen some very complicated websites that I've even just gone on as a visitor and couldn't figure out where or what I needed to do on the website. You don't want it to be like that. You want it to be clear, cut, and dry, okay? And that takes us over to some of the common essential layout tabs. If you notice on the website, when you go to someone's website, you should see different tabs. And I'm just going to pull up the Detour Movement one here on my other device so I can just take a look at it in plain sight. You should see different tabs that are on that website to kind of tell you about, okay, this is where you go to find whatever information that you're looking for. So typically, the tabs would look like you have your home. So it's your home page. Normally talks about your mission, your vision. You may have a video on there, and it may have a product or service or whatever the case may be on that home page. So that home page is that first page, that first presence someone is going to see when they come onto your website. In our home page, for instance, on .org, it does have all of those things, and we have some products on here. We have a video on here. We have our 40-day lifestyle change challenge on here as well, as far as some products and things of that nature. So there are different things on our home page. So if someone wanted to donate, if someone wanted to purchase something, if someone wanted to, just connect further with us as the visionaries, they can do that right here on the home page. Then if you tab over, normally is an About Us page or who we are, and that normally lists our team. Anyone that's involved in your team, our team, is because I'm speaking of our website. You want to have those people there, normally with their pictures, a blog, and things of that nature. So anybody else that is coming on the website, they will know, okay, so this person is involved with Detour Movement, or this person is involved with Girls Talk Movement. And that just gives them a more personable feel, and that also allows them to be able to connect with your team as well. Then you may have a resources or blog section on your website, and we do have that as well. That's the fourth or fifth tab on the .org one. And most of these, there's really no certain order. Home and About Us is probably the first two you definitely want to have as far as the first two. But after that, you can kind of switch up the order just depending on your website. So don't think it has to be any certain order. You can always look at other websites to get ideas and things of that nature. And if you do have someone that's going to help you with it, hopefully they can kind of help you and steer you in the right direction as well. So you have your resources, a blog, your resources are things that you have for individuals to read or to purchase, as far as inspirational, motivational, transformational tools and things of that nature, or readings and things of that nature. And then you will have your programs or your memberships. So our Kingdom Builder is on our website, of course, as one of our services that we offer. And so you may have that. If you have different memberships that you offer, you want to have a tab for that as well. And that can just be under one tab. Like your services can be one tab, or your programs can be one tab, and you can have different type of programs that are under that tab. Then if you do speaking engagements or anything of that nature, you definitely want to have a tab that says, book me to speak, or, I can speak at your next event, or however you name it. And that will give them information as far as what your fee may be for booking and things of that nature. As far as any product and services that you offer, you want to have a tab for that as well. So you may have a Shop Now or Shop With Us, or whatever the case may be, and that should list every product that you have, be it hats, be it tote bags, be it T-shirts, sweatshirts, or whatever, books, audios, whatever. That should be that tab. And for us, if you go to our Shop Now section, or our Shop Now option, it'll actually take you to our one shopping cart that we use for you to purchase any type of product or service that we currently have. And you can just look at it, the full site, and it'll show you everything that we have as far as for purchase is concerned. If you do live events or any type of events, you definitely want to make sure that you have a tab for that as well, so people can see not only just the pictures and things of that nature, but they can see if they want to attend any of the events that you have or are having in the future as well. So you want individuals to know, okay, we host live events as well. Testimonials, great way for marketing. Great way just to get the word out about your organization and what you do and what you offer. Have testimonials. Of course, if you get testimonials, you should get permission from individuals that you want to list on the website, just for legality purposes. You reach out to those people. What we've done in the past is have individuals just signed a brief agreement as far as their testimonial and things of that nature, them giving us permission to use not only their testimony, but also giving us permission to use their picture on our website. And then last but not least, you want to definitely have contact information. With the contact information, you can have your number, you can have email address, and I've seen some people just have a pop-up box where they are able to, you can put the information in there, your name, your number, and they may have a categorical list where you can select the category as to why you want to contact them, and then someone calls you back. Honestly, I really don't like that type of option, because it seems like it's just one step further of me talking to someone about my problem, and I still have to wait 72 hours to speak with someone, or not so much about my problem, but about whatever. If I want to book them, or if I want to do whatever, I have to wait another 72 hours or so to contact someone. So it'd be good just to have an email address their or a phone number. It doesn't have to be a personal cell phone number. Hopefully you may have some type of business phone. Even if you're using a Google number, you can put that there for individuals to be able to get in contact with someone for support of any kind.
Yeah, that's all great stuff. One thing that I wanted to mention that we didn't include here was somewhere on your page, and Cheryl mentioned them, but you may not know what they're called. She was like, oh, you can have a place where they can put their information, or you could be selling products. What all that is called is that you want to make sure you have some type of call to action, right? And you should have, your website at a minimum should serve to capture people's name and email, right? So you can start building a relationship with them, and it's not a one visit and they never come again. So you want to have a way that you can capture their name and their email on your website and have that call to action. Put your information here, or, buy this book here, join this program here, click here. All of the call to actions where you're calling them to take action and to engage with their content or what you're offering.
Absolutely. And those time options, that takes us really next to the next slide. And all of those options really you can utilize outside of your website when you do like a call to action, because let's say these are alternatives. Jill talked earlier about some of the alternatives that you can use if you are not website ready, so to speak, or if you don't want to or need to make that investment right now, or if that's something that you don't need because you may not have the products and services, you may not have programs, you may not have pictures, you may not have anybody to even come visit the website. So there are different alternatives that you can definitely use as it relates to that. And one of them are like an optimized press or lead pages. And basically what that is just a page that you can have certain information or certain product that you're offering. Let's say, for instance, we're doing we do telesummits and teleseminars throughout the year. So we didn't have a website. We would just have like a lead page, information that people can go on and register to be a part of that telesummit or teleseminar. That would consist of a picture. It would consist of content as it relates to the telesummit. It may consist of a flyer and things of that nature, and I have a website for them to be able to opt in, so to speak, or connect to our email list so that we can send out information as it relates to that teleseminar. And when you're using optimized press or lead pages, that page is connected to whatever you're using to host or to capture all of your clients or customers. So for us, we use iContact. There's Constant Contact, there's Entreport, there's a whole lot of them that are out there. So that lead page automatically is connected to you have to connect it to your database page, so to speak, so that when they do opt in to be a part of that telesummit, when you're sending out notifications, emails, and things of that nature, they will automatically get notified, and that helps to build your email list. And we talked about that early on in one of the other modules. I can't remember which one. So that's an option. If you don't want the website or don't need the website at that time, you can also just opt for a lead page, and the lead page can be used for an event that you're having, such as a conference or workshop or anything of that nature. So that can just be a standalone for the interim until you do plan to do the website. Another alternative would be...
So let's give them a couple examples. I think we have several. We have makingtherightchoice.net,
moneyforyourmission.com,
.com,
marriagetoolbox.com. Oh God, I can't remember. We have a lot.
Right.
I think we have more than a couple.
Right.
So we have a lot that we utilize for that purpose. Even when we did, when we do the Love Like Crazy, we did a Love Like Crazy attraction program. We did one for the Love Like Crazy. We did one for a 14-day How to Love challenge that we did. So we do them often, and we have a website, but we still often do them. But it's just another quick way to get connected to your audience, and also a quick way to build your list as well, because that helps with building your list. So when you're going to send information out to those individuals, that's just a good way to capture leads, so to speak. That's basically what it is. You're capturing leads and you're building your list so that you can have someone to, go to your website. So when eventually you do get it, you have, thousands of people that are already be a part of your list. Okay?
Absolutely. So, anything else, Cheryl, on this one? I think we talked about
the opt-in,
blog.
kind of talking about opt-in page, it's kind of almost the same thing because when they're opting in, basically they're opting in to get that product, or they're opting in to be on that telesummit or that challenge or whatever the case. And the Proverbs 31 challenge was another one that we did as well. So when they're opting in, they're basically putting their name and email address. I know recently we kind of started asking for phone numbers as well before other reasons when we start wanting to contact people for, different events and things that we're going to have. So you definitely want to make sure you're at least getting their name and their email address when they're opting in to certain programs, certain things that you're having as far as events or anything, so that you can contact those people at a later time. So the opt-in is basically them entering their information, and we have that a lot also on our JillianTrail.com page. So if you were to go on our page, you will see on the right-hand side where individuals can put in their name and their phone number and email address, and when they do that, that information automatically transports over to our iContact. So that's pretty neat, the way that it happens. There's some groundwork you have to do in order for that to happen, but it's not hard at all to do if you at least have that that email database or that name database. And we talked about that. So I hope everybody at this point does have some type of database where you're capturing your customers and your community information, and not just using an Excel spreadsheet. And if you are using an Excel spreadsheet, a lot of the databases are very compatible to Excel, and you can always upload. But I think it's a good time to, if you can, invest in getting a contact, or a constant contact will be one that we would definitely highly recommend, so that you can already have that in place and begin building your list from there. And that way you don't have to keep going to Excel and entering names. And when you do the opt-in pages, the lead pages, and things of that nature, that would be, it'll be an easier transition than having to, utilize Excel. And landing pages, and all these kind of are the same but kind of different. They're all just basically an opportunity for you to use something for your audience to connect with you outside of social media, or outside of, you calling them. This just gives your brand a different presence if you don't have the website, and it allows you to put a certain amount of content on this page. Again, I talked about your flyer, your brand, your logo, and all that stuff on this page, so people can connect with you on a different level. So it takes them to a certain page. It's a landing page. So it's basically the name speaks for itself. They go to that page, they're able to see, okay, she's having a telesummit, she's having a website, a webinar, she's having a workshop. And when you're the landing page as well, this is something that you can post on social media for people to connect with you there as well. So if you have a social media page or group, and that's something that's on here as well, and you want to put that link for that landing page for individuals to go there and opt in, then you can do that as well.
Absolutely. And I think we actually have one more section.
I know. I noticed that when I said,
sorry guys. I printed that, so we apologize. So, hey, this, I'm getting to the last one, is part 4. But before we move on, I want to say this. This is kind of giving you, I think, a really good start when it comes to website development and all of this. However, there's some things that we're not even including in this conversation today that if you really want to have an effective website and trying to leverage traffic and all of that, that's going to get into, SEO, something optimization, I can't even think of it right now, and it's going to get into a whole big conversation around that, which is that's something else to be aware of. So if you're really wanting to make sales online, you're going to have to go and take a deeper dive into this whole website development, into SEO, and how to drive traffic with keywords and all that type of jazz, okay? So we're sticking here just kind of telling you, you can do it yourself, you can hire somebody, and here's what you need to do to get that started, and kind of having a nice foundation and a solid website that's going to be effective and you can interact with people on. So lastly, but definitely not least, we want to talk about the website content. Understand what you will need. Okay, understand the purpose of your site. Cheryl talked about that earlier. You want to have a way to capture leads, right, to get their name, their email, and perhaps their phone number. Some people say that you don't get as much opt-ins when you ask for the phone number. However, when I use things like Lead Pages, which measures how many people come to a site and how many people put in an email, I haven't seen a big disparity. So we've still gotten a lot of responses even when we ask for people's phone numbers, so we do. Choose a template and layout. A lot of people, if you go with a website, they're going to tell you, okay, go to WordPress and choose the template you want. You have to be mindful and kind of think, okay, do I have images to go each place where this template is, and how you're going to be able to pull that layout with your content. We talked about the high quality images. We talked about, stock images aren't, you can use them, and it's a good place to start if you have nothing else, but the real life images is just bar none. It's
more impactful.
Yeah, it's more impactful. It seems more real. It seems like, oh my God, look at their live event. Oh, look at her. I mean, like, oh my God, look at the smiles. Like, rather than somebody just like posing and, just like a model. So you guys, you definitely need to hire a professional photographer to do the images. Cheryl talked about that earlier. So the next thing, what you will need, if you decide to hire somebody or even do it yourself, you want high quality professional video. You don't want a homemade video. Okay? You need to have it of a high quality. At least you kind of have to set the stage for it, right? So hiring somebody to do professional video can be anywhere from $500 to $900 plus, just depending on where you are. But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. I remember Shavilla Rashim of BeMoreLLC.com at one time. I don't know if she still has that video on there, but I loved the video that she did for her website for BeMoreLLC.com. You can check it out. I don't think she even has the video up there anymore. I think she's redone it herself. And she's been through the road of having developers do it for her, and then now she gets to the point she's done it herself, and she's done a great job. But at any rate, that was a long learning curve, and I kind of digressed on that point. But anyway, she had a really nice video, and she had it professionally done. It was really nice. Testimonials from happy customers, clients. We talked a little bit about that. That's really important, especially when you're offering, I would say, unless you're just selling T-shirts. If you're selling anything that people could consume in terms of even in service, you want those testimonials on it to make it more powerful and then pull that credibility.
Even for the event field, if you're hosting live events, because you want
right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Have people speak to that. HTML is pretty much a code that you're going to need to provide to your web designer for opt-in boxes. So when you talk about, hey, how can I put their name and email, and Cheryl was talking about it's connected to iContact or to whatever email server that you're using, you're going to need to, and they can usually walk you through how to capture that HTML code to have that opt-in box and have them place it on your opt-in page. Now, one thing that can be a challenge is you really have to make sure you select the right colors and fonts when you're doing that HTML, because whatever, sometimes it's very templated and basic, and also the opt-in box can diminish the quality of your website unless you have a graphic designer that can go in and custom design it for you, and that's, again, one of the advantages of having a web designer. One of the last things getting on here is clarity on your product offering. Offerings, depending on how much you have. You need to be clear on that. And again, this is why we took you all the way to Module 10 before we even talk about websites, because sometimes you guys got to flesh out what products I'm offering. You have to develop them. You have to form your programs. You have to do your events. But when you talk about website, you're going to be all of that to represent, hey, this is our company. This is what we do. And that's why we say, if you don't want to do this, you can have an alternative, and you can have something more basic, and you just have something that say, hey, here's my mission vision, here's a picture too, opt in and let's stay connected, or have on the blog, which also helps tremendously with SEO, things like that, because you're constantly updating the content, so it's constantly having new content up there. Let's move to the next slide, which is homework.
Woo-hoo. If you haven't gotten enough already.
Yeah, I know. So for your homework.
Oh, you want me to go over, Joe? Okay.
Yeah, if you could.
Or growth work, rather, we like to call it. So for your growth work, you want to make sure you have 6 things, but it's not going to be hard. So number 1, determine if now is the appropriate time to develop your website. Very simple. So basically, you want to plan, if you do decide that this is the right time, you want to plan to spend at least 1 to 3 months developing your website. So if you know that you don't have 1 to 3 months and you know that it's not the right time, then the alternatives that we talked about, the lead pages and all optimized press and things of that nature, those are things that you can opt for right now. If you know this is not the right time, in the next 1 to 3 months, it's just totally out of the question. So just take a few days, an hour, however long it takes you to just do some deciding factors. Go back and look at the advantages and disadvantages of, doing it yourself by hiring someone. If it's in your budget to hire someone, then by all means, but you want to make sure that this is the appropriate time. Who knows, maybe in 3 months it may be the appropriate time, okay? Number 2, determine your budget. So you want to, we talked about that a little earlier, about your budget. What is your budget? If you say, okay, this is the right time for my website and I have $1,500, then, you may can hire someone to do it for you for that $1,500, or you may can save yourself $1,000 and do it for yourself for $500. So just depending. Of course, do it yourself is going to be a lot cheaper, but it's going to take a lot more work. It's going to be way more time consuming. So if you're already extremely stretched out, overwhelmed, and have a lot of other things going on that may not work for you, you may want to just go ahead and invest that $1,500, or again opt to another option as well, because there are plenty out there. But just make sure, if you are doing it yourself, make sure that those high quality images that we talked about, you want to make sure that your content is rich and things of that nature. So you want to make sure you do have rich material to put on the website, and not just throw a website up there to say you have a website for someone to be able to go to and look at it and say, what is this? So make sure you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Number 3, get referrals from graphic designers and ask the questions before making any payments. We can give you some referrals. We've dealt with a few graphic designers ourselves. We know graphic designers that are within our circle, so we can definitely refer you to those people. You may know someone yourself, but make sure you get referrals. So even if someone, you know someone in mind, ask them to give you referrals for them, for their work. See, make sure you look at their work, what they've done in the past, and see if you can talk to people that they've worked with in the past about their turnaround time and things of that nature. Make sure you have all of your ducks in a row before you give them any payments, because I tell you one thing, once you pay them, then that's it. You can't go back and say, oh, I changed my mind, I don't want to get it done again. You've already paid for their services, and unfortunately, unless they're like super nice and just super wanting to work with you, they're not going to refund the money. So make sure you are dead stone and set as to what you need to do. Okay?
One thing, let me say this too, because we put graphic designer, and I just want to say that every graphic designer is not necessarily a web designer, and vice versa.
Oh, God,
Some people are specialized in web design. Some people specialize in graphic design. Some people do both. Some graphic designers also do branding. Some web designers also do branding. It's 3 different things, areas. Some people do all 3. Some people do 1 or 2. And you just need to know what their area of expertise is. Because you saw them do a really nice flyer doesn't mean they're a web designer. Just because you see them do a really nice web design doesn't mean that they're a graphic designer or a brand. Just ask them what is their area, what do they help their clients and serve their clients in the best areas and such.
Absolutely. Great point, Joe, because what you will find is that you'll have to give them everything. Some people that don't do both, if they're not intertwined and diverse in those areas, they may can just do the website, but you have to still give them everything, so you might as well kind of do it yourself almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I heard someone talk about something they were having done to their house, and the person was a specialist, an expert, and they came in asking them what they wanted, how they wanted things to be done, and he's like, well, I hired you to do it. I didn't hire you. I hired you to think and to do it. I didn't hire you to just do it, and I still have to think for you. So that's kind of the terms you have to think on. If you want someone to do it and to think about what needs to be done and to be able to have a finished look and ask you absolutely no questions except for, like, the content, of course, then that's the person you need to be looking for, but you will pay for that person, just to let you know that. 4, complete your basic branding. So we went over that in the first step here. So make sure you complete your basic branding. You have your font, you have your colors, you have your logo, you have different variations of your logo and all that stuff. Make sure you have your codes that goes to the colors and things of that nature. So have all that in place before you even decide on the website. And then number 5, develop the content. We talked about the homepage, about us, and all that stuff. So if you don't have any content developed yet and you need help with that, you can definitely reach out to us in order to do that. But if you do have things, go ahead and begin writing it out. It doesn't have to be perfect right now, but just go ahead and begin writing those things out, so when the time does come, at least you'll have something, and you can always go back and re-edit and refine and things of that nature. Then the step 6 would be to develop the website. And again, if you're doing it on your own, then, write it out. You can always go back and make, and that's a good thing about doing it on your own. You can always go back and make edits and delete and add and all that stuff. with the, if you hire someone, it's not as flexible because they give you a certain amount of finishes, they give you a certain amount of edits and things of that nature. So again, just depending on where you are, depending on your budget and things of that nature, you decide and then go from there. And we want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Joe.
I just was about to say we conclude, but go ahead, Trill.
Oh yeah, that's it. We're done. So make sure you're connected. Stay connected with us. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can always contact us at JillandTrill@DetourMovement.com. Of course, the Kingdom Builders group is for you all. So make sure you're staying connected. Make sure you're asking questions. Make sure you're sharing your wins. Make sure you're sharing even adversities and things that you may be running into, any challenges or anything that you may be running into as well, because I'm sure that you're not the only one. Other people are struggling or having some of the same challenges that you may be having. So make sure you share that with the people in the group so that we can encourage one another, we can build on one another, we can learn from one another, and we can grow all together. So get connected to Kingdom Builders. Stay connected to that group. If you're not on there as much or whatever, we admonish you, we encourage you to, get on there. If you're on Facebook, go on over to the group, share some nuggets, share some thoughts or whatever, share some tips that you may have learned so that all of us can be informed.
Absolutely. One last tip, Trill, that's such a great wrap-up. One last tip. Also, don't shy away from looking at other people's websites, especially your competitors, to kind of get an idea and to kind of help you get some, your bearings, as my husband would say, as you just go out and do the website. So we wish you guys the best of luck. It's a great thing and a great accomplishment once you do it, but don't feel like I have to do this now. I'm not going to have a reputable business. Not at all. Okay? So we love you so much. God's love is so much greater. Let us know how we can support you. Let us know if you get stuck. We can do impromptu videos to help support you, hop on a call to help support you and get you unstuck so you can get through the program and kind of go from there.
Yes. Until next time, see you soon, or talk to you soon, I should say.
Talk to you guys soon. Be blessed.